It started with an envelope slipped under my door in the middle of the night. No stamp, no return address, no name. Just a thick cream-colored envelope with my first name written in neat black ink. Not my full name, not Mr. Anything, just Daniel. Like whoever wrote it had known me for years, and inside there was only a single piece of paper, typed, centered, with one line. At 3:33 a.m. Do not look into your mirror. And the instant I read it, I laughed, because it felt like some weird viral marketing stunt or a prank from a neighbor who watched too many horror movies. But something about the way the paper smelled, like old books and cold metal, made me hold on to it instead of tossing it in the trash. That night, I tried to forget about it, put the note face down on the kitchen table, watched 2 episodes of a detective show I didn't even like, and went to bed around 1, figuring I'd wake up and this would feel stupid in the daylight. But at exactly 3:32 a.m., I opened my eyes like someone had spoken my name directly into my ear and sat up in bed without thinking. My heart already racing even though I didn't know why yet. I didn't want to check the time, didn't want to look at the clock on my nightstand, but I did anyway, and the red LED digits blinked at me. 3:32 a.m., 1 minute before whatever it was I wasn't supposed to see, and suddenly the note didn't feel funny anymore. Didn't feel like a joke. It felt like a warning, a countdown, a test I hadn't studied for. I live alone, in a 1-bedroom apartment with only 2 mirrors, one in the bathroom and one on the inside of the hallway closet door, and I swear I felt both of them pulling at me, like a magnet under my skin, like gravity had shifted, and the only thing keeping me from walking straight into that hallway was a thread of fear, so thin it might snap any second. I told myself I wouldn't do it. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't the guy in the story who does the thing he was told not to do. But my feet were already on the floor, already moving, already taking me toward the closet where I hadn't opened that door in weeks. And by the time I realized how quiet the apartment was, no traffic outside, no hum of the fridge, not even the distant bark of the neighbor's dog, it was too late. I was already standing in front of the closet mirror, hand on the door, breathing shallow, and the clock on the microwave in the kitchen ticked to 3:33 a.m. I wish I could say I hesitated, that I showed some kind of self-control, but the truth is my hand moved like it didn't belong to me anymore, fingers curling around the edge of the closet door and pulling it open inch by inch until the full-length mirror came into view, dark and flat and waiting like a pool of water that had never reflected anything real in its life. And for the first few seconds, there was nothing unusual. Just me, standing there half awake, hair a mess, face slack from sleep. And I almost laughed again because it all felt so ridiculous, standing in front of a mirror like a horror cliche, expecting something to reach out and grab me. But then I noticed something that made my blood go still, something small, something I would have missed if I hadn't blinked. My reflection didn't. It didn't blink. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It stood there frozen, eyes locked on mine like it had been waiting for this moment longer than I'd been alive. And in that instant, I understood the note wasn't a warning about a creature or a ghost or some urban legend. It was about me, or more specifically, the version of me that wasn't supposed to move on its own, the one that now tilted its head just slightly to the left while I stayed perfectly still. And I swear to God, I felt something behind the glass shift, like pressure building inside. A sealed jar, like heat rising off asphalt even though the apartment was freezing cold. I wanted to step back. I wanted to slam the door shut and pretend I'd never opened it. But my legs felt cemented to the floor, and my reflection's lips started to move, not speaking, just mouthing words I couldn't hear, but somehow still understood. Words like, "We remember," and "You opened it," and worst of all, "Now there's room." My knees gave out, and I hit the floor hard enough to knock the wind out of my chest. But even lying there gasping for air, I couldn't look away from the mirror because my reflection had dropped to the floor too. But not like a fall, more like it had collapsed with joy, like it was finally free to mimic pain, to copy the sound of breath and bend its arms in ways that didn't match human anatomy. And then it smiled. I don't mean it grinned. I mean it stretched its mouth impossibly wide, lips splitting at the corners like it had never been designed for smiling, but had learned by watching me. I don't remember getting up. I don't remember closing the closet or locking the door, but I do remember sitting on the edge of my bed until the sun came up, clutching that cream-colored note in my hand like it could protect me, and watching the closet door shake slightly every few minutes like something inside was trying to laugh, but didn't quite know how yet. I didn't sleep for the next 2 nights, not out of fear exactly, but because every time I started to drift off, I'd hear the faint sound of fingernails tapping slowly against glass, like someone keeping time, like something pacing in a cage just thin enough to see through, but thick enough to hold it for now. And even though I never opened the closet again, I could feel the presence behind that mirror growing bolder, more curious, pressing against the edges of my apartment in ways I couldn't quite describe, like the lights flickering even when there was no power outage, or the sound of water dripping from a faucet that hadn't run in days, or the shadow of my own silhouette stretching too far down the hallway when I stood still in the kitchen. On the 3rd day, I got a second envelope, same paper, same handwriting, slid under my front door with surgical precision sometime between midnight and dawn, and inside this one was another note. Only it didn't contain a warning this time, just a question typed dead center in the same black serif font. How long can you avoid your own reflection? I wanted to tear it up, burn it, scream at the ceiling like it would hear me, but instead I folded it neatly neatly and placed it beside the first one on the kitchen table, because I was beginning to understand this wasn't about disobedience. It was about attention, about observation, about how long I could go before it found a way to make me look again. I covered every mirror in the apartment with blankets and duct tape, flipped every glossy surface face down, removed the front camera from my phone, even stopped using the microwave because its reflection in the black screen made me nauseous. And yet no matter what I did, my dreams kept showing me that version of myself, sitting inside the mirror, motionless, smiling, watching me through layers of glass and memory, as if he were the real one and I was the echo. On the fifth day, I turned on my bathroom light and saw the steam from the shower had revealed a message on the fogged-up mirror, even though it was covered with a black trash bag, and it read, "Let me in perfect block letters traced with a finger. I didn't run. I didn't scream. I just stood there shaking, toothbrush still in hand, heart pounding so hard it hurt, and suddenly I felt something move past me in the hallway. No breeze, no shadow, just that unmistakable sense that I was no longer the only one inside the apartment. I turned around slowly, expecting to see nothing, to be relieved by emptiness, but instead I saw myself standing 10 feet away, wearing the same shirt I had thrown out 2 years ago, smiling calmly, lips shut, eyes wide. And in that moment I realized it wasn't just trying to copy me anymore. It was trying to replace me. I didn't move at first because some part of me still hoped it was a trick of the light, a stress-induced hallucination, a nightmare I hadn't woken from yet. But the longer I stood there, staring at this thing that wore my face with such quiet confidence, the more I realized it wasn't mimicking me. It was remembering me, piece by piece, gesture by gesture, learning not how to look like me, but how to behave like I had before I ever opened that door. And as I stood frozen in the hallway with my back against the bathroom frame, the version of me across the room raised its right hand slowly, palm facing outward like a wave or a command, and I couldn't explain why, but I felt my own arm start to twitch, like it wanted to mirror the motion without my consent. I forced myself to look away, ran into the kitchen, slammed the door, and turned every light on, trying to flood the room with something real, something warm. But the moment I looked up at the microwave, I saw it again, my reflection not matching me, staring straight ahead even as I turned my head, smiling like it was enjoying the fact that I was unraveling. I ripped the plug from the wall, grabbed my phone, and dialed every number I knew, but the screen kept flashing the same 3 numbers over and over. 3:3:3, over and over, like the time itself had broken, like I was stuck in that 1 minute forever, and the voicemail I received next didn't even try to disguise itself anymore. It was my voice, my cadence, my laugh at the beginning of the message, followed by a whisper that said, "You were never the first to see it, just the first to open the door." I packed a bag without knowing what to bring, shoved in a jacket, keys, and the original note, then ran out into the hallway only to stop cold when I saw every other apartment door was open, wide open, but there was no sound, no light, no movement, just darkness and the smell of something too clean, too metallic, like disinfectant in an abandoned hospital. I backed toward the stairs, but the emergency light flickered, and in that brief flash, I saw them. Dozens of versions of me standing at the end of the hallway, each one slightly wrong, a scar that didn't belong, a smile that stretched too wide, a shirt I hadn't worn since college, all standing perfectly still with heads tilted in that same slow arc I had seen the first time in the mirror, and I realized the reflection hadn't just escaped, it had multiplied. I ran down the stairs, out the front door, didn't stop until I was 6 blocks away in a gas station bathroom with no mirrors, just a paper towel dispenser I refused to open, and when I finally looked at my phone again, I had a message notification with no number, just a blinking red dot, and when I opened it, there was a photo, a live photo, of me, sleeping in my bed, taken 10 minutes ago. I stared at that photo on my phone for almost a full minute without blinking, watching myself breathe in slow, steady rhythm as if nothing were wrong, as if I hadn't spent the last 5 nights losing pieces of myself to something that didn't blink, didn't sleep, didn't belong here, and for the first time since all of this started, I felt something worse than fear. I felt doubt, not in what I had seen, but in who I was now, and whether the person holding this phone, standing in this mirrorless gas station bathroom, was still the original or just another version that thought it was. And I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe that reflection hadn't escaped me. Maybe I had escaped it, and I was the one out of place, the one bleeding into a world where I no longer had the right to exist. I deleted the photo, shut the phone off, and tried to breathe, tried to count the seconds like grounding techniques taught me. But the moment I looked down at the sink, I saw steam rising from it, thin, slow, swirling up toward the ceiling like it was exhaling, and there, traced faintly in the condensation on the porcelain, were the same words I thought I had left behind. Let me in. I left the building without drying my hands, without looking back, without even grabbing my keys, because I knew I wasn't going home, not because I didn't want to, but because I no longer believed it was mine, no longer believed anything inside those walls belonged to me anymore. And that night, I slept in my car with every mirror covered and my phone wrapped in aluminum foil like that would stop it from receiving whatever signal kept pulling these reflections closer. But sometime around 3:33 a.m., I woke up to tapping on the car window, soft and deliberate, and when I turned my head, I saw myself standing outside, drenched in rain, face blank, hand pressed to the glass. Eyes locked on mine like this was the last step in something it had had waited years to complete, and in that moment I didn't scream or run. I opened the door. I don't know why. Maybe because I had no energy left to fight. Maybe because I needed to know. Maybe because some part of me remembered how this ends. He didn't speak, just placed a small note in my lap. The same cream-colored paper as the first, the same handwriting. I unfolded it slowly, and it read, "You looked. Now someone else will." And as I looked up, he was gone. No footprints, no sound, nothing. Just my reflection in the rain-slicked window, smiling, still watching, still waiting for the next one to open their door.